Greetings to President Hakainde Hichilema and the opposition EFF leader and the late Sata, Christian Kaseva, actually, let me say, Dr. Christian Kaseva, late President Sata's wife, I'm greeting you. I also want to greet Ramaphosa, South African President, EFF, Julius Malema, also the President Donald Trump of US, and former President Barack Obama. In my last third part of this letter, I actually emphasized on the point that the partnership with Vatican that President Hakainde Hichilema entered is the basis by which President Hakainde Hichilema must resign, because that partnership was warned before by God, and that it is the means by which we are being persecuted. Of course, everyone else will agree with me that we see the good part of the Catholic Church in caring for the needy. Even the SDA members, the women, and so forth, the aged, they find also solace in the Catholic Church. Also, the aged, they are cared by Catholic Church. I remember the other time when I was a youth leader in SDA, there was money that was given to Seventh-day Adventist Church and footballs and so forth. That funding just came. One of the organizations in America, I've just forgotten the details of that person that sent. So we ended up, the church was divided because the sharing was not going to be equally enough for all churches. But the proposal was brought from the pastor's desk that let's donate this to Catholics, because us as SDA, we don't have orphans, because it has been given to say we should give orphans. Then me, I asked to say, how come you can say that we don't have orphans when orphans are there in the church? And no, we don't have an orphanage. I says, why can't we have an orphanage as SDA church? So we ended up being divided. Votes were given. That money was actually given to Catholic Church. So now that's where I actually understood that the difference between the Catholic Church and SDA is simply the same. The other one actually cares for the needy. The other one doesn't care for the needs, only cares to make money, as the church has been turned into business. So I finally read that Hakainde Hichilema says, we therefore reiterate our resolve to working with the church back home in fostering development and improving our people's livelihood. We also traced our view that we will continue embracing the religious faith in Zambia. So that is the embracement that I was trying to elaborate, to say when SDA and Catholic, they are able to meet somewhere else despite showing the criticism against each other. But the main criticizer is the SDA church. I'm not criticizing Catholic Church or the Vatican based on religion, but based on its involvement in politics, whilst preaching religious love on the other side, which every one of us, we appreciate of Catholics, see help. But in the continuation, I said, reminding Hakainde Hichilema continue reminding of Hakainde Hichilema to say, look, on 16th August, I'm reading on page 9 of the letter, point number 10. I said, on 16th August 1999, speaking to the first president, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, so I continue to talk of other revelations and other issues of major concerns, such as the vision of the next government after the fall of MMD government. We shall rule under the leadership of the purpose. I had to make sure that when I was talking to Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, I had to explain what UPND government stands for and what it is going to accomplish. The divisions that are seen in UPND today, which men other, they are trying to justify it. I've read certain articles on Facebook where someone is saying PF, actually under SATA, he appointed 70% of all ranking positions of members. That means the 30%, that's where maybe perhaps Tonga and others were, let me say the Northwestern and so forth, all these tribals were appointed on the 70%, meaning that the 30% perhaps were only favoring the Southern Province, because even under SATA, there were other ministers from the Southern Province, which I'm not defending Michael Sata, but what I was trying to say is, if Michael Sata and Lungu appointments of their ministers, they were in line of tribalism, what justification is there for UPND to have 70% or 80% of the Southern Province in the tribal lines? I further said in my comment to say perhaps Zambia's problem is not tribalism. Every leader has the opportunity to choose people that will work alongside his line of operation. Zambian government has an opportunity. Each government can choose the majority based on how a president would feel the security surrounding him. But the current president, the problem is not tribalism, which they want to bring as an attraction for sympathy for the 2026 election. The main problem that I know is they have failed to deliver the promises which were based on the slogan, Bali will fix it. So the other thing that I want to help President Hakainde Hichilema is that President Hakainde Hichilema, whether I heard him in the press conference, a national address, the recent national address, that he was not able to make some movement because he was mourning and because there's a funeral. And he further said that he was still trying to talk with the family to see to it that there's a resolution for the burial of President Edgar Lungu. I've been advising President Hakainde Hichilema to say, can he call me? That I can whisper to him that this burial can be used to unite the nation, not to divide it further. But what surprises me is that despite showing my commitment to help UPND to be in touch with reality through the fulfilled revelations, they still want to sideline my advice, with others commenting to say, why are you forcing yourself to the president? I'm not forcing myself to the president. I've come at a time that all visions and dreams that I had before, and I know UPND, you have my books in your homes, I cannot change anything. I cannot add anything. The only thing that I've always emphasized that I have to do what? To ratify is Saturday as the seventh-day Sabbath. In all my writings, even perhaps to add on doctrinal issues that I was just speaking, not based on revelation, but just speaking, the 1844 claims that Jesus Christ entered into the Hall of Holies on that date. Those are the things that I can actually say in any page that I've written about it. It was based on doctrinal understanding, not revelations. But anything that I spoke based on revelations, I've no reason to change it, because from the first president to the seventh president, my visions have stood the test of time to prove that it was not schizophrenia, but it was actual God communicating to me to warn the presidents. And the last person who is on my warning list is President Hakainde Hichilema. So I'm not forcing myself to him, but President Hakainde Hichilema has the right to put things in order to save his life and to save the nation from economical slavery. I can publicly say that even the PF, they are not willing to seek God's inspiration, perhaps because Siawan misguided them. You know, always lies, they run faster than truth. So Siawan posed as a prophet, but he was not a prophet. Siawan is reading my books and claiming whatever he reads as if it's prophecy, and claiming that God has spoken to him. So he misguided Edgar Lungu to a point that they now don't want to speak to men of God, because they think that whatever they speak in privacy, it shall be exposed later. I don't expose anything that is spoken in private. What I'm reading here, it was spoken to Hakainde Hichilema in privacy. The resistance of him coming back to me to say, I've read your letter, what is the way forward, the message of God? I was going to answer in privacy, and it was going to end there in privacy. But now, because it has been rejected, I'm coming out in the open, because I'm trying to be a witness, so that the people must know that Hakainde Hichilema was actually warned in 2023. This letter, as in my fourth part, I've just forgotten to say, I wrote this in 1st January 2023 and saved it to President Hakainde Hichilema. Upon saving it, it was on my second time of my follow-up, they told me to say, one of the security personnel there, who was chief security personnel at the community house, he told me to say, the reason why you are not being answered by president, it means that your life is still in danger. You should run for your life. I was hoping to return home. I was hoping to reconcile with the president if they understood the gift that God gave me. But they did not understand. Even now, I'm willing to reconcile with anyone who feels that I injured them. I didn't injure them purposely, but it was God's revelation. Today, I want to repeat it again, to say, as much as God continues to allow me to speak, I'll say that Hakainde Hichilema, I have a solution that can unite Zambia. If you are willing to get that solution, then you better make some effort to talk to me, that I may whisper to you into your eyes, into your ears. Eventually, this can bring peace between you and President Edgar Lungu. If you miss this clip, if you also take it in another way around, I would be happy if the social media that tells me that Tasila Lungu is saying that we are actually contemplating on the arrangement of burial of Edgar Lungu in Zambia and with the agreement of the president and the family. If those rumors are true, but the point that I want to stress fully, don't leave me out of every agreement that you have made, because that agreement, it can be only a political bargain, but it will still not give you the expected result as a father of the nation. Because it is not only Edgar Lungu that you need to reconcile with, it's the whole nation. The nation is suffering because of the partnership that you have made. And those partnerships, even if you win the family of Edgar Lungu to come into your request of burying Lungu, you still have a mountain to cross that lies ahead of you. My prayer is there are other alternatives government from UPND that God can raise. If you do not want to listen, your end won't be smooth. As I warned earlier on, before you became president, I posted on my Facebook that I dreamt that you are the one who was holding you are the gate man on your own house, holding a iron rope, which was so big, and you are sitting on a stool, and I saw a white car coming out with a lot of bumpy potholes on the road. And when it passed, you also closed, you sat there to monitor who is coming. So this government, the whole of UPND, you are running it single-handed without you having anyone to help you. So you have no one to help you. There's no former president. Everything comes on your shoulder. And Zambia may continue like that if you become stubborn. If you don't listen, Zambia will lose the 7th president and it will remain without a former president. Because the warnings that I gave to Kaunda, they stood the test of time. I warned Kaunda about the assassination of his son, Wes Kaunda, about the same attempt, that assassination in Kabwe, where a bullet crossed on his forehead of Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, and his car was also ambushed by his gate. Unfortunately, it received bullets, but he was not there inside. I warned about the death of Manawasa in 2002. Manawasa collapsed 3 times, and by God's grace, all those 3 times were recorded before. So there is no prophecy that missed its grip. I warned about Sata. I warned also about Chiluba. I warned also with Lupia Banda. I wrote a letter, and that was 2009, where I saw him announcing 2 funerals, and he was in a blue house. So he was having a sad face. I actually prayed to say, can you ask God to heal you from your cancer. The cancer our heads of state are suffering from, it's not a natural cancer. It's through poisoning. I wonder about the death of Lungu, the death of Sata, the assassination of Sata before Lungu. And it was fulfilled. And that was the main reason why I was accused to say maybe I played my hand into his assassination and I fled for my life. After a driver who was supposed to have killed me in an accident that occurred a day before, he followed me at Soweto there in Zambia, where I took my car for panel beating and spray painting. He says, "Why? What are you doing?" I said, "I brought my car yesterday. I survived an accident." He says, "You are lucky that you survived yesterday. The president doesn't understand you. I understand you. You are a man of God. Leave this country. Don't leave your family behind." The very day that I left Zambia, I was told that the very following morning, there came a Land Cruiser with the policemen in plain clothes with guns, 8 of them. Those I saw who lifted the Manawasa out of the ground, there were also 8 men. So I want to say that there is nothing that God has spoken through me that has fallen on the ground without standing the test of time. If you see me proclaiming a 90 days national African revolution prayer, I'm actually praying for Zambia, for Africa, for President Traore, because these people that I've mentioned, the Africans, they are a target of economical slavery. As civilization continues to revolve, the Western have realized that they are at the wrong place. They are supposed to occupy this place so that Africa can be a completely people who are classified as slaves. So what is the only way to do is to give them policies, give them multi-party democracy so that they can hate each other, remove them from the chiefdoms. Because when a chief is in leadership, no one would wake up in the morning and dream to say, I want to be what? I want to be president. No one. The fight for presidents or the fight for chiefdoms is limited to the clan, to the family. It won't affect the citizen. And the economy remains very strong because each Jim and Jake will be working out, will be only fighting to work and progress in life. But today, they have painted the office of the president with a lot of benefits, with a lot of protection. And when you become a president, they create you a small god. You are untouchable. You are a person that cannot be reached, even to cut you off from a friend that used to give you information. Your phone, you'll be told to say your phone will be handled by someone else. And when, from the time when Hakainde Hichilema became president, I could not go through the phone numbers that I had. No one was receiving them. So meaning that when you become a president, they cut you off from reality. They now give you phone, arrange phone calls that even give you encouragement. They tell you that there's no load shedding when there is load shedding. They tell you that everything is okay when people are crying. So now, When I was saying that you must resign, Hakainde Hichilema, I actually meant that if you resign, you are saving your life. You are saving Zambia from economical slavery. But if you force yourself to continue leading, even in the next term, you are actually putting your life in danger, and Zambia and Africa will suffer because of what? Let me read this letter. I said, in this vision, I saw a bald-headed man beckoning and pointing to the open palm, that of UPND symbol. The vision of 16 August 1999, I'm referring to it. The man was just pointing without speaking. As usual, Catholic doesn't speak. He only gives secretly directions and directives and commands. The man was just pointing without speaking as he gave a signal to voters to vote for the open palm government. Catholic is the largest church where voting is concerned, and it is used to change governments. According to the vision I saw in 1990, the Pope will be in charge of the affairs of Zambia. According to the statement that I read, which you, Hakainde Hichilema, wrote on your Facebook on 19 February 2022, where you said that we are going to look up to the church for guidance on how to deal with national matters, is exactly what I saw in this vision of 1990, where you are looking up to the Pope for guidance how to give to lead the nation. So I continued to say, in the same vision, I saw without speech, just pointing and giving signal, beckoning people to vote for the open palm government. This simply means that the next head of state after MMD will have no say, but only to follow the guidelines of the Pope through the Roman Catholic Church. Exactly, I wrote this in 2021 in the first volume. Okay? So now, if this is exactly what you confirmed by your own mouth, what is it that can fail to be fulfilled today regarding your government failing people in what you promised that Bali will fix it? What is it that shall not be fulfilled? Then I said, whosoever will rule under the influence of the papas will be a mere figurehead ruling a shadow government of the Vatican authority. First volume says that on page 14 of 2000 edition. That's where I wrote about this. So now, when you have that book, open it. The introduction, I wrote this prophecy and explained it exactly the way it is. HH is a figurehead, a shadow government of the Vatican seat. Whatever is happening is Vatican authority who is in charge of Zambian affairs under the guise of Christian Nation Declaration, under the guise of 18th October National Prayer. I want to tell you to say all these things, as long as they do not promote the observance of the 10 Commandments, it's a fake Christian National Day of Prayer. Listen to this. I said, point number 11 of this letter. This is the great paradox of our generation. Man's supremo instinct to take every possible advantages by fair means or foul remains unchanged. The only difference now is that his inherent selfishness is more sophisticated than it used to be. As to the children of Israel, they went and settled in Egypt with access to free food, free money, free clothing. Zambia finds herself in a rather similar situation, but the circumstances are more sophisticated than in Israel's case. But the results are not different from that of Israel in economical slavery. Page 14 of 2000 edition, The Rescue Operation Airport Trap. The sophistication of our slavery is that we are given multi-party democracy that was founded by the Pope, and America comes here and gives us directives to receive donor aid through people like President like Obama and those that were before. We sign secret agreements that when we win politics, we are going to do this and do that and do that. But when you win as president, they start changing the goalposts. You start negotiating. They remove the leader that you have made agreement with. The new one that comes in tells you to say, I don't know that. Cancels all the agreements for free aid. And now you are in poverty. And when you are in poverty, the new leader will start calling you to make fresh arrangement. And because of desperation, you are going to sell the mines and everything that is remaining. You are going to give the control to that new leader so that you receive donor aid. And when you receive donor aid, you are able to be called a good president because you are going to give CDF funds, loans, and so forth. I want to say that all those things that the members in the community in Zambia, those who are receiving CDF funds, you are being deceived. South Africa, those who are receiving children donor funds, even the 370 COVID-19 funds, all that they are there just to blindfold us. Even when we are receiving them, they are there to blindfold us. The real issue is to remove Cyril Ramaphosa's government and to bring in a government like DA that is going to block who EFF leader from implementing a United States of Africa, because they know that United States of Africa is a threat to their looting of our natural resources. So I'm speaking to Hakainde Hichilema, I'm speaking to Cyril Ramaphosa, I'm speaking to Mnangagwa in Zimbabwe, I'm speaking to every leader, those in Botswana that have heard. I haven't got the solid information, because when I'm posting about Ghana on Facebook, my posts are classified as fake by those who are controlling Facebook. They don't want me to speak about Ghana, control and the sale of God. They don't want me to speak about Ibrahim Traoré, development. They still want Africa to continue saying Ibrahim is a dictator. They want to say that whatever Ibrahim is doing, it's artificial intelligence. There is no progress in Burkina Faso. They want to downplay every truth because they want to make sure that they remain controlling our mind with the free education. Whatsoever the purpose of what they call in artificial intelligence, where they would put a person, a Muzungu, then when you criticize that Muzungu is reporting in defense of HH, they say, no, it's not a real person, it's just artificial intelligence. We are living in a sophisticated world that want to masquerade the truth with artificial intelligence, oppose everything with artificial intelligence. Me, I'm not using artificial intelligence. I'm using definitely the intelligence that comes from God. I want to say that God has been giving me a revelation to understand these things. And I'll still continue saying God will lead Zambia to a point that we are going to understand exactly what is happening in our country. We are going to understand exactly what is happening in politics when we listen. Sorry for the disturbance again. I want to continue to say the sophisticated means of selfishness that the West is portraying love to Zambia, to Africa, by giving us donor aid. It's not donor aid. It's the same like when you want to catch a fish, you put food on a hook, then you throw that food in the water. Then the fish will actually run and think that it is food, whilst it's a hook. So the donor aid is hooking our mind. The grants that children are given, the older people are given, they are making people to be sleeping in their homes so that they remove the culture of working. Because one of the conditions of a grant is that, one, you cannot receive a grant if you are working. So people, they opt to receive a grant by not working. And when they are suffering, they go on the street, they loot so that they can have food. They go on the street to protest because they want to increase the grant. Also, the same system has encroached in Zambia, but the means is to make us slaves, is to make us not to work. Even in our schools, our children are told not to work because they want to create a culture of Africa that is not working, so that when they are dependent on aid, they think that they are being respected. They think that they are being loved by the government because they don't know work. They can't dig minerals, because if they are taught to work, they will realize that they must start digging what? Minerals. And when they start digging minerals, then they'll become rich. And now when Zambia discovered that there are minerals, the gold was lying openly on the ground, they now know to say this is gold. They didn't know, even when they are plowing, they didn't know. That situation was there in Zimbabwe. When Zimbabwe did not know the time when they got those independence, they found the white men, they were gathering gold. They were telling the workers to say, when you find such a stone, it's dangerous for people. It doesn't need to live amongst us. So put it in a wheelbarrow and you gather them there. We are going to gather them by the end of the month. They must be to be thrown very far in the ocean. But that was gold which they were gathering. After this independence, they discovered to say, no, the stones that they are giving Zimbabwean workers to gather, it is not just a mere stone. It is actually gold. Today, Zambia has found gold lying recklessly in Mfumbwe. And when the government heard that the citizens there, they are actually gathering gold, they sent police officers and killed more than 50 people, protecting the interests of a white man who is a foreigner to us, but promoting xenophobia by the same system. So I was actually hinting out with South Africa to say, South Africa, let us be careful. Some people, they say, now Africans, they no longer trust their leaders because their leaders have been branded as thieves. In preparation for a white regime, they are now controlling our resources. They want to bring the white regime so that every African person who is going to speak, it must be no speaking. Cyber law is going to spread in all countries where the Pope has influence, so that no one will raise a head to speak against the wrong leadership that we have witnessed in Hakainde Hichilema. Hakainde Hichilema, all the evils that are done used by his name, and he cannot refuse. Once he refuses, they'll kill him. So now, what can we do as Zambians? What can we do as Africans? We must go on the street and rescue our presidents from hostage. We must demand for their resigning, or we must demand for them to declare Africa under Ibrahim Traoré. Abraham Tarao has prepared himself with missiles to defend every country that shall rise in solidarity with his roadmap to economical slavery, to economical freedom against the economical slavery. Here is a book. If you are one of those people that are ready to understand why Ibrahim Tarao is our Moses, you must get this book. Buy this book. I've received a lot of people in my inbox. They are asking for books. They are promising to say they are sending money. They are fearing to send money, whether they are fearing or they are just trying to receive for free. I want you to support the ministry. I was going to give you books for free as I used to give before, but now it is time that you must support the ministry, so that the time that I spend in writing, the time that I'm spending in speaking to you, it also needs to be supported by buying books, so that I can reach the world to know that Africa must be united under Ibrahim Traoré. Africa, our presidents, if they want peace and prosperity, they must follow what Ibrahim Traoré has done in Zambia, Zimbabwe, South Africa, Malawi, Namibia, Botswana, Angola, DRC Congo, Ghana, all these other countries in Africa, the 52 countries that have not given their allegiance to Ibrahim Traoré can find the freedom from the Vatican control, from America, from France, because this is one system that is working together to establish the Pope as the global leader. On 12, I said, but the vision of the rise of the Pope, the vision of the rise of the Pope as a global leader is gradual and is still future. And the rise of the open palm government, the open palm, open part symbol government will stretch its hand to hold hands with the Vatican seat yet, but in future. So the future that I referred in page 6 of the Rescue Operation 2001 edition, it is no longer future. It is now present. 14, the fulfillment of this vision is not my business, but God's business to prove his word written in this book, in the same page of the Rescue Operation. This is where I penned down this declaration. I also continue to say, the vision of Daniel predicted the end time events. These cannot fail for the reason that the Maker must destroy the wicked world. This is a major reason why God gave me the visions written in this book with modern features to help us understand the times in which we are living in. Page 6 of the same book. 16, I said, wherefore I am ordained an evangelist, an ambassador for Christ to rescue those being haunted by revelation and visions and dreams. On the same page of the same quotation of the Rescue Operation Airport Trap. I further quoted 17, I speak the truth in Christ and I lie not, for I am ordained a teacher to the lost in faith. Page 7 of the Roman numerals of the same quote. 18, therefore may the loving Almighty God lead you to the understanding of the revelations as gospel truth in this book. Page 6 of the same quote of the Rescue Operation. 19, I said, the supreme purpose of the visions or revelation is to rescue the national leaders and the church leaders from being used by the Antichrist as means to enforce the mark of the beast or receiving the number of the beast, 666. I was referring to Revelation chapter 13, verse 11 to 16. The mark of the beast, the number of the beast, the image of the beast. These three systems, they are the ones that are working to enslave us when they come to control our trading, to control our monies. Our monies are losing value. And for our money to have value, we must have agreements with America, with Britain, with France, with the Vatican. So we are trapped. I still repeat that when we are talking about the BRICS, that involves South Africa, Russia, China, and other countries, may every country in Africa use that platform, marry together with Ibrahim, and defeat the economical slavery. Then we are going to have true worship. We are going to have an Africa that is free from economical slavery. Here I proceed. The call for you is to urgent to protect God's ministry of prophets, to save you from digging, from edging godly matters, as did President Chiluba, to ignore the warning in the book I wrote to rescue him. They did in political meeting, or he died in political meeting, he organized against Michael Sata through poisoning. We have no time to lose by edging godly matters. Let us not take chances by ignoring God's messengers, or else we may die untimely as Abner died, not as a warrior, but died a death of a fool. This is the Rescue Operation Airport Trap, page 21, volume 1, 2001 edition. So now, I was actually warning you, Hakainde Hichilema, to say, Michael Sata did not just win. He had opposition from Chiluba. And Chiluba was not supposed to do what? To oppose him, because I had already foretold the coming of Michael Sata. He was blocking him. I foretold that I saw you, Chiluba, blocking Michael Sata. I also saw you, Hakainde Hichilema, Sata was standing the other side of the fire. You were standing the other side of the fire. I was also standing in between you when Michael Sata hit his chest and says, I'll be president no matter what it takes. He was answering to my interview on the movie TV when I said, after Chiluba, it's UPND. Michael Sata opposed that. The opposition to Michael Sata gave room to Mwanawasa, also gave room to Lupia Banda, also gave room for him to rule, also gave room for Lungu to rule, and stretching the line of presidents to you as the 7th president, the fulfillment of the vision. Under you, there are 14 vice presidents. So making the vice president to repeat twice of the 7th line of what? Of leadership that has fulfilled the prophecy. So now, my point here was, stop edging godly matters. Don't round on godly matters because you are protected by Freemason. The Freemason have started publicly holding conference in Zambia under your leadership. There is no way you can run away from you permitting them. We knew about them. Under Anderson Mazoka, who says, I was a Freemason, but I've stopped. You cannot stop Freemason. And Freemason made sure that you come also under the same umbrella. That's why today they are free in Zambia. You cannot run away from it. As the vice president was trying to defend herself to say she doesn't know anything about it. And that their meetings, they are not concerned as the Zambian because they registered a long time before. Yes, they registered a long time before. They can register under Anderson Mazoka when Anderson Mazoka was preparing himself to be president. And they knew that their time is coming and their time is now. And Zambia must raise against that. And you as a president, you must give a word to say, I'm not part of Freemason. If you remain quiet, it qualifies you, Anderson, it qualifies you, Hakainde Hichilema as the president in charge of Zambian affairs to be part of the Freemason. I ended up by saying, His Excellency President Hakainde Hichilema, your house is gutted. This letter comes to you as a hammer and a chisel to break the door of your heart to rescue from the death degree signed in Berlin Conference in it was supposed to be 1844 here. There are a lot of mistakes because I was writing this letter whilst in hiding with a lot of stress. The truth is, when the house is gutted, now I was quoting the rescue operation, page 3 of Roman numerals. I said the truth is, when the house is gutted and people are sleeping inside, to save life, you need a hammer and a chisel to break the lock or the door. This is what this book is all about, to rescue from slavery under globalization and possible death. If you fail to carry out orders or agreements, also this book comes as a revelation of your enemies and relationship to God. This was a message to Chiluba, which he ignored, and he died exactly because he failed to carry the orders to privatize all the companies. And by him fighting the rise of coming of Usata in the meeting that he organized himself, that's where the poisoning was done. And I know that Mwamba knows about that story. And the social media reports, they are linking Mwamba also to have a hand with that death because he was the one who was defending Chiluba at all costs. So, therefore, I want to say that kindly listen to God's call to protect God's ministry. As your life leadership, now this appeal was to Hakainde Hichilema in this letter. As your life and leadership and future hangs in the balances of choosing to protect his ministry of prophets, being locked in mental hospitals on allegation of bipolar and schizophrenia, and your safety is not anywhere, even in your New Kasama State House is not found, but your safety is based on one condition: to seek God's grace, mercy, and safety by protecting his ministry, Gospel Revelation Ministry, the remnant Christian church that is in exile because you have forgotten your own appointment of 2008 when you called me to meet me at UPND Secretariat office after the burial of late President Levi Patrick Mwanawasa, who died in fulfillment of God's prophecy, with a warning letter in his pocket. This letter was there to remind Hichilema that you called me in 2008 and you had promised that we meet at your secretariat office, where I waited for you until evening. You did not show up and you never made a call. I knew that someone deceived you. So when I knew that someone deceived you, I waited for your call. You never called. For the next 10 years, I called when I was in exile. And I expected you to do what? To do what I told you after I called you. But you did not do what? You did not take it. You actually called, cut off our discussion because you said, I'm a 70th day. I cannot be used by the Catholic Church. But why? How come in 2022 you are calling the Pope the Holiness? His Holiness. How come? You say you are looking up to the church for guidance how to rule the country. How come entering that agreement The gift of prophets never ended as taught by SDA. I continued in this letter. As the kings of old did believe in God's protection, and as long as he sought the Lord, God made him to prosper. The same God you consulted on phone, he is the one speaking to you now. And if you be ready to follow King Uzziah, who chose God by restoration of Eloth to Judah, because he listened to prophets, and he sought God in the days of Zechariah, who had understanding in the visions of God. And as long as he sought the Lord, God made him to prosper. That is 2 Chronicles chapter 26, verse 5. Zechariah was a prophet, and Uzziah listened to him. He had to restore Eloth to Judah because Judah required Eloth to rule. So if you, Hakainde, in this letter, I urged you that a restoration is very possible. Because if you can accept to be guided by God, then everything shall be well with you. I further said, if it is hard for you to live in a state house, fearing the frog that crushed President Mwanawasa and Sata for refusing the information from vision and dreams without protecting the ministry of God by staying at your house in New Kasama, I know this because I warned you of an unfinished house and the rough road of revelation before you became president in 2021. This is page 11. I'm ending here today. I'll proceed again so that I review the will of God to you. In my last readings, I'm just saying, I warned you of unfinished house, meaning that you're going into state house. Your relationship with God is not finished yet. You still have an agenda that you wanted to consult in 2008. After you saw the fulfillment of the death of Levi Patrick Mwanawasa, you need to finish that appointment. You need to listen to God so that your life can be spared, so that your government can be restored, so that everything that you are planning to do can have the grace of God. As long as I'm praying, your effort with the Vatican seat, your effort with America, your effort with whosoever who is deceiving you will be scattered, because the restoration of PF policies of claiming the mines back to the government shall be fulfilled by whosoever shall listen to God. I've decided to speak to Kasonde and another person that I'll come to you later if that person will accept the invoice that I sent to her. If she's going to accept to be used by God to restore the mines, UPND will not stand the elections of 2026. If UPND will fight against God's revelation, they'll face the consequences as the first president has faced. First president started walking in the lines that God had drafted for him by abandoning Peace Foundation, which was actually influenced by Catholic Baptist Church, for him to be speaking between Mugabe and Britain. I said that is not God's purpose. He formed the KK Children of Africa Foundation in line to God's revelation. But the SDA church went and misguided him. Hence he has died. He has died before the age of 144. It is possible to live. I've shared one video on my page. Go on my page. You read. Despite this woman, she has a fake belief of the moon cycle in her medicinal healings. We are not using the moon cycle for healing. We are using the moon cycle for time. We are not using the moon cycle to worship it. We are using the moon cycle to identify the true Sabbath. So don't be misguided by a mixture of belief towards the moon cycle, because the devil always has to bring certain counterfeit. The reason why I shared that post, it was because that woman, she's now 141. She's active. So any leadership, anyone who is going to live according to this message that I'm preaching today, he must die after 100 years. You are going to bury me after 100 years. I deliberately referred to the poisoning that I had in Pretoria when we are protesting at the UN. I had a lot of things that happened. That one which I was served with food with poison. The second one, it was in 2019 when we were at Hassa House. I was invited. That's one which I was talking about the drink and the permanganate and so forth. So I have pictures which I was admitted at hospital in Pretoria West Hospital, where the doctor who entered just upon my admission. I saw him. I knew that this doctor, as he looks around, is looking for me, and he sent for me. I saw him also coming to inject the drip that was given to me to wash out the poison. But he came not to wash out the poison, but to increase another poison on my looking. And I've lived against all odds of poisoning. Therefore, I want to tell you to say, my death shall not come without me clocking 100 years. I'm still a boy because I'm now 55 years. The gray hair is a crown of wisdom that is given through stress, thinking of how I can save Zambia and Africa from slavery. So Hakainde Hichilema, if you want to score 100 years and above, take this advice serious. If you don't take this advice serious, don't be surprised that I'll be campaigning for whosoever that shall accept to do God's will. Because this time, I'm not a politician, but I'll speak and direct people opposing the support that Vatican is giving to UPND. So I'll stand there as a goalkeeper of God's revelation. I'm suffering because of fighting to save Hakainde Hichilema, fighting to save Zambia, fighting to save all African countries. Even South Africa has been made to not to believe visions and dreams because they have classified it as schizophrenia. It is my prayer to God that you may take this message with care and seriousness and do what is right. Call me, I'll give you equal advice to solve the standoff between you and the family of Eddie Kalungu. Call me, I'm available. Whatever you have spoken, but you have not spoken what God revealed to me. Whatever you have agreed, you have not agreed to what God has spoken to me. Whatever you think you have achieved, you have not achieved of what God has spoken to me, which I'm not able to explain on this social media. I'll only explain which is written here. May God bless you.